What's going on, guys? It is closing in on deer season here in Georgia. We're at the, I don't even know what today's date is, good Lord, 22nd of July. So we're roughly, I don't know, 45 days or so out from deer season here. But before we get started in our deer season here, we've got our trip out west to Colorado that we're going to be going on for 10 days or so that I am beyond stoked for. I've never been out west, never been elk hunting at all. So we've got that, but before all that is said and done, the reason for this video is shooting our bows every single day. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to build a 4x4, 4 foot by 4 foot bow target for under $150. My bow shoots roughly 275 feet per second or so, 278 feet per second, and I have no trouble at all stopping arrows with this target, so I feel confident that it'll work for you guys as well. Like I said, it's roughly 150 bucks or less. The two target faces here, I'll put everything on either the screen or in the video description, either way. Target faces are 40 bucks, $45 with shipping for two blank target faces that you can paint, do yourself, add your own target dots. However, spent 40 bucks or so on a 16-foot 2x12 that I had Home Depot cut down to size for me to save me a little bit of trouble. 2 boxes of screws, some 3-inch L brackets. The paint isn't necessary, but I painted my target, and I'm going to paint this one for Jonah as well. A staple gun and some staples, and then you'll need these 1x2 boards here. You don't have to have either, I guess, is optional as well. But I use these for a face board to kind of help hold the face target on, and it also just kind of dresses it up and looks a little nicer. So either way, I'm going to turn this camera around and start showing you guys a few things of what I have. Like I said, I'll put everything either on screen or in the description of what you need, and then run through some time lapses and stop periodically to kind of explain what I'm doing and show you guys how to do this yourself. So stick around. All right, so like I said, you can get these here. These are 1x2, I think just pine boards. I've went through, marked all these at 4 foot on both sides. Went ahead and marked my 45 so I can 45 all of these. These are 8 foot long, 1x2s. Got 4 of these, which will give me 1 slab, 2, 3, and 4 for the face, and then double the side on the back side of it. Went ahead and marked the 45 so I can run through and cut all these real quick. I've got the 16-foot 2x12. I had them cut at 45 inches on 2 of these pieces so I can put them inside the frame, and then these other pieces are at 48 inches to go across the top and bottoms. These, I will show you what these are for. I'm going to run these across the top as kind of where before I put my cap on, to where I can stuff all of my darn filling. And I guess I should have mentioned, the filling I'm using for this target after I get it all said and done is shrink wrap, and you can source this from a multitude of places. We've got some family friends that run a feed store here locally, and all their pallets of feed and everything they get in comes shrink wrap. So I have been going for the last, I don't know, probably made 3 trips to fill it up the back of my car, my wife's car, and everything else, to get all this shrink wrap here. So that there is going to be the target filling that stops your arrows. So if you can source that for free, it doesn't cost anything at all. Then you've got your 4x4 target skins. These here come from thirdhandarchery.com. Like I said, I think they're $45, maybe $47 with shipping. I'll put the prices and the link in the description. You're gonna need 4 of your 3-inch L brackets, your staple gun, a drill. Like I said, paint's optional if you want to. And then I've also got some 2.5-inch screws and 1.25-inch screws. The 2.5 I'll be using for the main frame. 1.25 I'll be using to add the face boards on, and some minor details here and there with that. And outside of that, tool-wise, you'll need a drill, a saw. You can have Home Depot do most of this. Those boards you'll have to cut yourself, and I think a chop saw makes it a little easier. You can probably use a handsaw, however. But that's the majority of what you're gonna have to get this done. So let's throw it together and see what it looks like. I just want to mention that since Home Depot has already cut this 2x12 from 16 foot, cost me 40 bucks. They've cut it down into the 4 pieces I needed. Like I said, you've got 2 at 45 inches and then 2 at 48 inches. And once you build the main frame with the box of the main frame, it all comes out to be a 48-inch square. Before I do anything with this, I'm going to cut my 1x2 by 8 foots down into 4 foot sections. I'm going to 45 all the corners, and then before I start to put anything together, like I did the last time, I've already built one of these, so I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I'm going to go through and paint everything before I even start to assemble anything. That way I don't have to worry about getting paint on the target face where I don't want it. So I'm going to start by cutting these 1x8s down to where I need, cutting the 45s, lay everything out. I'm gonna paint it, let it dry, and then we'll jump into the assembly. All right, we're getting ready to paint all the faces for the outside of the target. I just wanted to say that I had bought this here from Home Depot. Yes, it is interior paint, but it was, what did we pay? $12 a gallon? I think $12, $15 a gallon, maybe $20 a gallon, I don't remember. Like I said, this isn't necessary, so I'm not including it in part of the cost of the project. But this interior paint that we've done my target in roughly month and a half ago, it has held up fantastic and have had zero issues out of it. And I just need something to slap on it to make it look better and somewhat weatherproof it. So this is what we're going with. We're gonna put you on the tripod, do a time lapse of us painting all this here. So let's do that now. I don't know how well you guys can hear me now over this fan that I have running. But as Bo just pointed out, it's not pouring, but it's raining pretty heavily and the sun's shining. So either way, we got all this mess cleaned up, let all the paint dry. The paint should be good and dry by this point. So we are gonna take a few minutes and start building the main frame out of the 2x12s with the brackets. Get everything laid out right quick. And I'm gonna put a couple of them together, and then I will show you an up close look at what we're doing and how we're doing that. And then from there, we'll just go step by step on how to do it. It's a pretty quick and easy process from this point. So let's get it laid out and I'll show you what we're doing with it. All right, just threw what is gonna be one inside and one bottom piece. We're gonna do another inside and the top piece here in just a minute. But give you guys an idea, on the inside, we're just adding 2 L brackets all the way around, 2 here, 2 there, 2 there, and 2 there, which will end up being what, 2, 4, 6, and 8 L brackets total. So once we get this here, I'm gonna put the camera up in just a second. We're gonna put this piece in place and then I'll show you the rest of it from there. All right, well, I may have lied to you guys. I went ahead and did this side as well. Said it's just 2 L brackets in the corner, 2 L brackets in the corner. I tried to film this side, put it together and realized my fat butt was in the way. So I guess you won't see that, but fairly self-explanatory. Literally 2 brackets, 4 screws on each bracket. Same thing. Now on this top side, I'm not going to make a complete box like I did with the target that I built. I'm actually going to take these pieces of wood here. These are scrap throwaway lumber from Home Depot. That's what they use on the bottom of their pallets. They have them sitting literally in a trash can for free. So I'm going to take these, and I most likely will have to cut this. I will cut this down on both sides. I'm going to do the same thing with the L brackets. But once I do that, to give you a general idea, there will be a gap here in the middle between both boards that when I stand this up, I can shove all the shrink wrap inside of this to stuff it and hold everything a little bit better. On the one that I did for my target, I built 4 solid walls, and then I took a jigsaw and had to cut a hole out of the top side and then stuff it through the hole, and it didn't leave me very much room. So try something a little different on this one and see if it works any better, and I'm assuming that it will. So I'm going to put this together. I got to cut this piece of board and the other board that I have. I got to cut both of them right quick, and then I will put it together and we'll see what it looks like. Well, I got my 2 pieces of scrap that they use for pallets at Home Depot. Got them cut down. They were 14 or 45 inches and 1/8. So, and then I've got these L brackets again, put on just almost flush. They actually, thankfully, fit right down inside of this. So now that these are all screwed together, and something else I didn't mention is tool-wise, you may want to square. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but I was trying to make sure both sides are square before I measured and cut these excess pieces here. So not necessary, but it definitely helps. But that being said, I'm going to get these pieces wedged down into place like so. where it needs to be, screwed in top and bottom. I'll stand the target up and I will show you exactly a little better kind of, I guess, I don't know what I'm trying to say, blah, 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 blah. Show you better what it's going to look like and how this exactly is going to work. All right, all the brackets are in, all the corners. There's no rhyme or reason. I didn't measure, space these out equally, put them in just wherever they fit, however, so they'll hold. Top pieces in. Again, these are the scrap pieces that go underneath pallets. They literally are in the trash cans at Home Depot, so they gave them to me for free. They also have L brackets in them. So the theory behind doing this, instead of putting the solid top piece on here this way, is when we go to fill it full of shrink wrap, we'll be able to stuff the shrink wrap straight down inside versus just a small hole like I had last time. But we're gonna have to take and put a, it's not necessary, but on this one, I'm gonna take a piece of black plastic that I have, that I got from the feed store as well, stretch it all the way across the face on both sides as a perfect square. That helps with these targets here, or these target faces are kind of somewhat see-through. Once you get them stretched completely out and the light from the sun hits them, you can kind of see through them and see the shrink wrap and what's in it. Kind of, it's not like a clear window, but you can kind of tell. So just for my own sanity and my own sake, I'm going to stretch the black plastic across here and then put these on afterwards to kind of help keep from being able to see completely through it. So what we're going to do now is stretch the black plastic on both sides, then get our target faces on, stapled in, and once we do that, I'll kind of show you that process as we go. I just wanted to add right quick, if you don't have black plastic, because I ended up with black plastic from the feed store as they were throwing it away, so that's what I'm using. But if you don't have that or can't find it, you can use garden fabric that you would use in like a garden bed at Home Depot. I think it's relatively cheap. I don't know exactly, but it's cheap enough to use to deaden the see-through on this if you wanted to use that flower bed fabric. However, that's just another option if you don't have the black plastic for free. So just wanted to throw that in here, and that way if you guys did want to do it exactly the same way and you don't have the plastic for free, that's an option. Alright, so black plastic is stretched across this, and this is like super thin trash bag material, so it's already trying to pull out of the staples the more it stretches. Like I said, it doesn't serve any other purpose other than the fact that it's just trying to keep from letting light through and be see-through. So Bo is going to open these target faces, and we're going to slap one down on here and get it stapled into place to hopefully hold this in place better. So next step is on this one side, to get one of these target faces on, we'll flip it over and do the exact same thing and show you guys as we do it. Don't you cut your finger off, son.
Yes, I know. I gotta be careful. I've had a nice finger.
Well, you got the target face itself on. The black plastic is underneath that. And then down through here on all four corners, we have went through and stapled the living crap out of it. So that way you ain't gonna worry about it coming loose. On this upper end, where your top is, you're gonna wanna start stapling at the very bottom of your target. If this was standing up, this is your top, that's your bottom. Reason being is when you go to put your lid piece on here on the cap, once you're all said and done, you will staple this back to it, and then you'll finish your cap piece on that. So I made the mistake of starting on this side flush here and going that way, and it overhung in the wrong direction. So start at the bottom of the target and come to where your opening is up top and let this overhang for the time being. Either way, this side is on. Said the black plastic's under this, then this target face itself. We'll go through and spray paint our dots later, but right now we're going to flip this completely over, do the exact same process on the other side. The black plastic, target face. Once that's done, we will be able to put our shrink wrap, most likely put our shrink wrap in it, or we may go ahead and take our trim boards and put 3 sides on, then fill it, so that way it's got a little more, it's a little more stiff to hold the shrink wrap in, pack it full of shrink wrap, put our top piece on, and then put our final piece of trim. Honestly, not entirely sure. We're going to kind of figure it out as we go, but we'll show you as we do it. I just got it flipped over. This is the reverse side, and what I was saying, obviously you got your black plastic, we're gonna do the same thing, but when it comes to your target face, you wanna start stapling your target face here and work that side, this side, either way, either side doesn't matter, but start down here at the bottom towards the top, and you'll have a little bit of overhang sticking off the top end up here, and you wanna leave it like that. So this is what it looks like from the inside view. Obviously the hole is where we're gonna stuff our shrink wrap once we get both sides on. So let's go ahead and run through this side, black plastic, and then the target face, and then the next step from there. What do you think so far? Yeah?
Turning out good. You can't wait to stuff it inside. Got a lot of stuffing to do, but when you stuff it, you're almost done.
Yeah. So now we've got both sides, the black plastic and the target faces on. I am going to take our trim pieces that we have cut earlier, pre-painted, cut to 45s. And the 45s aren't necessary. You could butt these pieces together just like I did the main frame. I think it looks a little cleaner, but I'm going to put 1, 2, and 3 sides on, leave the top side open because the top side has actually got to be tied into the lid. So we'll wait to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and do these 3 sides here, screw these all into place, and that will then again reinforce and help hold this target face in. Do both sides, and when we do that, it'll help as we start to pack it full of shrink wrap and this expands. It'll help hold some of that pressure, and you ain't got to worry about staples ripping out or it ripping past staples, which surely I probably went a little overkill on staples, and I don't think it would have any worries of coming apart with or without these face boards on. But I'm going to go ahead and do this step here, flip it over, do the other 3 sides, and then we will stand it up and start stuffing it. And then from there, it's just finishing the top side. So let's get that done and see what it looks like. Well, we are running out of daylight, but both sides have all 3 trim pieces on it. We'll put our last trim piece on at the top once we get our lid put on, but this will all be stuffed completely slap full of all this junk. Don't mind my nasty dirty porch, been using it to work, but running out of daylight. So tomorrow when we wake up, we'll go through and paint our circles, our outlines, however we're gonna do that. Probably the same exact way that I built my other target. At the bottom of the yard, paint our circles, fill it full of all the shrink wrap and cellophane, put our cap on, put our other trim pieces on, call it a day, be done, and we'll wrap up this video tomorrow. So see you bright and early, bub.
Yep, you too.
Good morning, y'all. It is morning of day 2, up and at it bright and early. Something I was thinking about last night after I kind of concluded the video, before I went to bed. This target is very easily doable for 150 bucks if you have the tools, the staple gun, saw, hand saw, whatever it is you need, and you just need the materials. But depending on how fancy you want to make it with the paint and whether or not you have the tools, it could be upwards of 200 bucks. But even then, the reason we're building these targets is me and Jonah was looking at trying to get a 4-foot by 4-foot target online, and with shipping costs and everything, the cheapest we could find was anywhere from like 850 bucks to $1,300. So we're trying to avoid spending that much money, and for 150 bucks, being that I've got the tools and stuff and all I had to do was buy the materials, 150 bucks, $175 beats the crap out of $850 to $1,300. So that's kind of where we're at and why we're doing this. But thought about that last night. Depending on what tools you have and how fancy you want to end up making this, it could cost a little bit more than 150 bucks, but it's very doable for $150. So that being said, this morning I need to flip this over on both sides, spray paint the dots that we're going to be aiming at. We're going to fill it full of all the shrink wrap and saran wrap. We're going to add our top piece across the top, add our other couple pieces of trim, and after that, that's pretty much it. All right, so what I'm going to do here is explain how I'm going to be aiming or drawing the aiming points, the dots we're going to be aiming at. The way I did my other target was, on one side I had it smaller dots for roughly 40 yards and in, and the back side I did a bigger circle in the middle, and then did semi-decent circles around it for 50 to 100 yard shots. What I'm going to end up doing is, on both sides, I'm going to measure out the distance that I want my dots. I'm going to put a small tiny X at the intersection everywhere I want these after I measure them out. And then when I get done with that, I can go back to my templates that I cut these out using just simply paint cans. I think I used a can of Bondo for this one, but you can see the difference in size. And then go all the way down to the smallest size that I have, and then just simply lay these down on here. Once you lay these down on here, you can spray paint them, but I'll go through, measure out what I need, draw the center points of them, lay the center point directly in this, lay it down, spray paint it, and then I'll kind of show you exactly what that looks like. All right, so I just wanted to give a quick explanation of exactly how I measured these out. This center dot, pretty self-explanatory. I just measured from the inside of here, cut the distance, which was 22.5 inches, and being it's a perfect square target, 22.5 inches from the side to the center. Same thing from 22 inches from here to the center. That gives you the center from here. And once I get ready to put the dot on that, then I'm going to spray paint. I'm going to lay it down, eyeball it, and get it pretty well centered. It ain't gonna be exactly perfect. We're rednecks and this is a DIY target, so lay this down, hold it flat, spray paint all this around, and just make sure this is as close to center of the circle as you can be. Then my 4 medium-sized dots that I'm gonna do around the outside, this is gonna be my 50+ yard side. On these other sides here, grab this and pull it out. All right, I just went from the sides and I measured out 1 foot, and again, both directions, 1 foot, drew a small T, and that gives me my reference point for my medium-sized target where I can lay this down pretty well centered, spray it, and then I'll have 5 dots on here. 4 mediums, 1 big target, or 1 big circle in the middle of the target. My medium circles are gonna be roughly 4¼ inches for the mediums on all 4 corners. The center target is going to be roughly 6.5 inches. So 6.5 inches in the middle, 4¼ on these, and then when we flip this over, my center dot for 40 yards and in on the other side will be, my center dot will be this one, it's 4¼ and then I'll have, let's see, 3, 6, 7, 8 dots on the other side. That'll all be this size. And this here is roughly 2 3/4. So on the other side, for our 40 yards and in, we're gonna have a 4¼ inch circle in the middle, and then we're gonna have 8 dots around the outside perimeter of this one. That will be roughly 2 3/4 inches in size. So I'm gonna spray paint this right quick, put you back on time lapse, we'll flip it over, and then do our 40 yard and in side on the other side. Well, this is our 50+ yard side. Like I said, we've got the big target dead center, 4 medium targets on the outside edges. We're gonna stand it up, let our fan do some work for a minute, dry these out, lay this side down, and then we will spray paint our 40 yards and in side on the other side. We'll do that side next. So 40 yards and in side, however that, I don't know, that's a mouthful. Say that 10 times fast. So anyway, let this dry, flip it over, do the other side, and then we'll start stuffing the target. All right, now this is the 40 yard and inside. Got it spray painted up. Again, gonna let the fan blow on it here for a few minutes, let it dry up, drink some more of my coffee. But you've got 1 medium-sized dot, and then you've got 4 corners basically of the smaller size, and then you've got a T of offset of the smaller size. So you've technically got 9 dots on this side here. We're about to fill it full of our stuffing. And then on the opposite side, this is the 50+ yard side with 1 big dot and then 4 mediums. Make it a little easier to aim at 60 to 100 yards. So good enough. Let's let it dry right quick. Once this is good and dry, we'll start grabbing all of our shrink wrap and stuffing, clean up my porch hopefully a little bit, and get this thing stuffed up. All right, so it's time to stuff it. I will say, let me grab another piece of this here. This is the 2 type of basically materials I've been getting from the feed store. This here is like a thick, heavy, just plastic. This here is your normal shrink wrap that comes on rolls like this. It's just shrink wrapped all the way around it. I wrap everything in it, and it sticks to itself. Stick that back over there, please. There's a big difference in these two. I'm sure this works all right, but I noticed on my target that I did, I just kind of layered everything in there just haphazardly. This didn't work as well at stopping arrows. This kind of grabs, like, I don't know if it belts to your arrow when it hits or what, but it grabs your arrow and stops it a little bit better. So I'm going to use this as a filler on the bottom 2 or 3 inches, being that you're hopefully not shooting the very bottom of the target that low, and then use it on the top to kind of compress everything, and use this actual shrink wrap as filling everywhere in the middle. This stuff works absolutely wonderful. So I'm going to stick some of this in there first, and then once I get some of this stuff in there, then we'll go into adding the shrink wrap. Time to fill it. Something else I just wanted to add right quick in the middle of this time lapse. Every few chunks or every few layers you add to the shrink wrap, you want to have something. It really does not matter. You can use a shovel. The other target I did, I had an actual tamp that I used. But every few layers, every so often, just yay high in the target, you want to make sure you pack the ever living snot out of it as best you can to kind of compress everything as you go, because the more compressed it is, the better it's going to stop arrows. So just every few times you add stuff in it, take a few minutes, pack it all down. Another option to stuffing, if you don't want to just keep shoving it with a tamp, whatever, get you one of your kids, if you got kids, or find a nephew or a niece, or I could probably fit in this, but don't have quite a lot of room to be working. So let them get in here, stuff it down in the cracks and the corners, put them to work, let them be part of the project. It's not necessary to have 2 people to do this at all, but it definitely helps having, especially a younger man like Bo here, to help hold things, grab things, move things. Just a second set of hands is always nice. So he's gonna keep packing this down, but I said earlier, you can see on the bottom half of the target, these wrinkles up top where it's not packed yet are kind of dissipating down low as it's starting to get packed in. So we're gonna keep stuffing, and once we're closer to the top, we will show you what that looks like. You having fun? Well, I'm going to scratch the idea of putting something heavy like a battery in here to hold this down. Being that I've had Bo to walk all this in and stuff all this down really tight, has worked just as good or better. I just wanted to say, when you get up here to the top corners, these lips here will help hold a lot of this plastic in, but you want to take and push and almost roll this stuff down into the bottoms as best you can. And the better you can do that, the tighter it's going to pack this in. So we're going to keep stuffing this until it's overflowing pretty much. And that way, when we go to put our top cap on, overflow and put our top cap on, it's going to be enough force and weight, especially once we're going to screw it down, it's going to push a lot of that down and hold pressure on it. All right, we've got it completely stuffed, and I cannot overemphasize, when it comes to stuffing this stuff in here, you want to stuff it as tight as you can humanly, under these corners, into the pockets, everywhere you can. You want to stuff this as tight as it will ever possibly go. Yeah, nope, it's good and tight, so should have no issue stopping arrows. Yeah. And if there is any soft spots in amongst this, once we start shooting, pull the lid off, take some of this stuff off, repack it, redo it, till it gets exactly right. But if you do it right the first time, you shouldn't have any issues. But like I said, I'm gonna leave a small lip of this black plastic sticking up. That way when I go to put the cap of this 2x12 on the top of this, it'll somewhat compress it and hold pressure. But all there is left to do now is put the lid on it and put our 2 final pieces of trim on the top, and I think we'll have a done target.
Yep, look how tall it is. Look how tall it is.
I think this is probably one of the nicest targets on YouTube, and probably honestly the biggest of a DIY build at least.
Bigger than me though, almost.
All right, something I didn't foresee being a problem is when I did these 3 trim pieces without doing the top piece, I didn't, I guess calculate maybe the right word for the way they meet up top. So there is a slight gap on this I'm about to show you. Something you may want to put your top piece on and then put your side pieces together before you screw them in place to make sure all your measurements are pretty tight. But it's nothing I can't go back with a can of spray paint right quick and fix, and it ain't got to be beautiful or pretty. Like I said, this is just a bow target, especially a redneck bow target. But once I spray paint this, it'll kind of hide everything. But these trim and outside face pieces are more to help hold this bag face on than it is for anything. I mean, granted, it makes it look nicer, but it just is simply there to help hold this in place. So I'm gonna spin you around real quick. This right here is what I'm talking about, this gap. I'm gonna go back and spray paint this little top piece because I didn't paint that when I went with the roller. But on this other side, it is a lot more pronounced as far as the gap. I could put some caulk in that if I wanted to and fill it in, which I very well may do. And the same on that side, just because when I put these side trim pieces on, I didn't think to make sure the top angle was exactly where they needed to be. I measured the bottom pieces, put them in place, the side pieces, and didn't think to go through and check these top pieces. But overall, I'm gonna spray paint it in a second, but overall, I think it looks quite nice. I mean, especially from a distance, you're not gonna be shooting at a point blank. So that's how it turned out. Give it a good smack in the middle. Don't break your hand.
Ow. My hand broke. It's too hard. We need to take some stuff out.
Yeah, dude. So either way, that's your 4 foot by 4 foot, $150 to possibly $200 bow target, DIY. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you guys build this. If you do, find us on Instagram or Facebook. Either way, Georgia Public Project will be the best place to find us. Send us a message and shoot me some pictures of the one you built. I'd like to see them. So I think these things are pretty cool. It works wonderfully. And no, a 4 foot by 4 foot target is not necessary at all. I have been shooting a 16 by 16 inch target at 60 plus yards. But when you get out shooting with buddies, you've got a lot more dots, a lot more room to aim at. Spread your arrows out without stacking arrows, busting arrows. It's a lot funner to shoot at a big target, especially when you're shooting 100 plus yards. You've got a lot more room for error. Or even if you've got a buddy coming over to sight their bow in. When they come over, you've got a lot more room to work with to sight their bow in. So just a lot more room for error. So either way, that's the bow target. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll catch you on the next video.
I need to move my windage to the left touch.
That one, I called that when I shot. I still
said perfect at 50, so I don't want to touch it.
I wouldn't. I called that as a flyer when I shot because I knew that was me, but those other 3 I will take all day long.
Yeah, that's 60 yards.
Only one went, just to barely.
Target works great.
I think we did it good.
Thank you, sir. Insert or outsert your stand. Nope. What do you think about it?
I love it.
Yeah?
I think everybody should have one.